Hey guys, and thanks for joining us. Right, so in this episode we're going to have a look at the rare units, because I'm joined by two rare boys here. Of course I'm joined by Swampy and legendary Mike of ancient Greece. So, rare units. We've been, we're getting there. This is it, the final section of the actual army list, but we will be going on to talk about magic and stuff like that. So far, it's been good. So far, I've enjoyed it.
Yep.
Now, the rare units, this is where the real special stuff should be, yeah?
Yeah, normally.
No, it's the more rare special we covered last week, last episode.
No, I mean...
The rare stuff being the very... Ooh.
This is where you should find a lot of the sexy,
it's still the fun stuff,
right?
Not so sexy, but lots of fun stuff.
Yeah? Okay, well, we'll kick off
I'm sorry, how can you class a giant as sexy?
We will kick off with a hell cannon, which is a big old gun, I would say.
Yeah.
Rocking in at 210 points. The hell cannon has a couple of dwarf handlers. Behave, that man over there. Movement 3, weapon skill 4, ballistics 3, strength 5, toughness 6. Wounds 5, initiative 1, attacks 5, leadership 4. And then the dwarf handlers are 3, 4, 3, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, leadership 9. That hell cannon, is it what, 12 inches or?
It's fires as a stone thrower, so it's between 12 and minimum of 12, max 60.
Yeah, so it'll go minimum of 12 deep and then maximum
60
inches. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty deep. So the crew is 3 dwarf handlers. Okay. Do you count those as wounds before you get to the hell cannon?
It's not an artillery piece though, it's a monster. So they're monster handlers.
Ah, so how does that work then?
Very different.
Very different to, say, your classic stone thrower or mortars.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's describe it. A classic stone thrower with its crew, how does the wounds on that work?
The crew are wound counters.
Okay.
This, on the other hand, works more like Hydra, actually, doesn't it?
No, because Hydra's completely different to every other one. It works more like the salamanders, the Lism and stuff like that, where you have to actually wound the cannon, and then you're randomised to find out if you actually hit the machine or a crew member.
Right. If you killed all the crew members, does the cannon just go mad on its own?
That's even better for it.
Yeah.
It's better for it.
It can go completely insane. I mean, its own misfire chart can potentially make the hell cannon eat all its handlers.
What page do we find that on, Mike?
Page 42.
Right, if you're following along in your Pew Bibles, go to page 42. I'll just get stuck straight into the special rules. Caged Fury. Where did we find Caged Fury? At the start of your turn, if the hell cannon is not in combat, take a leadership test. If the test is passed, the hell cannon acts as normal. If the test is failed, pivot the hell cannon to face the closest enemy unit. It is then subject to the random movement 3d6 special rule until the beginning of the next turn, except it can only move forwards. So, right.
Just goes in a straight line.
So if you fail your leadership test,
it just goes straight line towards the enemy unit.
Using the handler's leadership of 9.
Yeah.
Nice. I actually have one of these hell cannons. Now I've seen the picture of it.
They're a lovely model.
I've probably an old version of it, or there maybe is only an old metal version.
There's only one model.
Well, I have a metal version.
Redone it in fine cast, but it's the same.
I have a metal version, and I actually use it in my dungeon crawling games, where you can come across a hell cannon. But it has demonic attacks for the hell cannon only, so you can fire this thing at the.
Its cannon is magical for one, and its combat attacks are magical as well. Which is a change from its previous version.
Yes.
Yeah, it didn't used to have magical attacks.
Demonic Construction. A hell cannon has a natural armor save of +4 and a ward save of 5+. So
it's gained a ward save.
Yeah, you take a 4+ save. If you fail that, you then take a 5+ ward save. I love the way the saves stack in fantasy.
Yeah.
But you've got the modifier system in fantasy as opposed to just AP.
Yeah. Which means you can end up very quickly with no save at all.
Yes. Especially when it's only 4+.
Special rule called Doomfire. Doomfire,
shooting attack.
Yeah, is fired following the rules for Stone Thrower with the following profile: range 12 to 60, strength 5, and in brackets 10.
Basically, the person who's underneath the centre of the template, the little hole, is hit by strength 10. Everyone else is hit by strength 5.
Which special rules: move or fire, multiple wounds D6, and slow to fire.
Can't stand and shoot with it.
Can't stand and shoot with it.
It makes it pretty obvious.
But the guy who takes the multiple wound only comes into the guy who's hit by the high strength as well.
Yeah, well, it has the Doomfire's multiple wounds special rule applies only to the high strength hit caused against the model under the template's central hole. Any unit that suffers one or more casualties from Doomfire must take a panic test if it had taken 25% casualties, with a -1 penalty to their leadership. Should the artillery dice roll a misfire, roll a d6 on the following table. This is where it gets fun.
Yes.
Can be quite hilarious.
So d6 on a roll of a 1, free at last. The demon breaks its bonds. Every unit within 3d6 inches takes d6 strength 5 hits. Then remove the Hell Cannon and its Chaos Dwarf handlers from play as casualties. That could be quite painful, I'm sure.
Depends who's closer, you or the enemy.
Especially if this thing's gone psychotic, ran into the middle of your opponent's army, and then goes bang.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to keep a Hell Cannon
Close
right
to your army,
yeah,
no.
And
It's an
definitely not
artillery
close.
piece.
It's generally
Most
right
of
on
the
the back.
army wants to be in combat, so it's very rarely you're going to be close together anyway.
Yeah, but it's behind you.
If it misfires on the first turn.
Yeah, and if it's an artillery piece that's behind you, and it's constantly moving towards the enemy, that means at some point it's going to move through you.
Potentially.
Correct?
Yeah.
Potentially.
So, yeah. 2, slurp. The Hell Cannon sucks off its own handlers into its furnace. Remove all Hell Cannon's Chaos Dwarf handlers from play as casualties. So on the roll of a 2, he sucks the Chaos Dwarf handlers off.
He just eats them, basically.
Bloody hell. Next up.
My personal favourite one.
The Hell Cannon fires great pulses of raw magic. All wizards, friend or foe, within 24 inches must immediately pass a leadership test or suffer a miscast. Ignore any instructions to lose dice from the pool. Any spells lost are determined randomly. Your favourite?
Yeah.
If you're running no wizards in your own army...
Which, if you're doing a corn list, you're probably not running any
exactly.
anyway.
That's pretty tasty. It's a shame that... We'll go into it later. It's just a shame Warriors of Chaos lost the puppet, because the puppet made that even worse.
And what was the puppet?
The Infernal Puppet allowed you to modify any miscast results by D3 point, by up to D3. So
Actually,
you fired that off, and then you just go, cool, you've rolled a 4, a 5. Hey, I've not blown myself up. No, you potentially are going to be blown up.
what they added in this one, what they didn't have in the previous book as well, it's a wizard has to take a leadership test.
Yeah.
In the previous book,
it
was
all
every
wizards.
wizard
Just takes the miscast.
takes a miscast.
Just took a miscast.
Yeah, so they've actually made it friendlier.
Number 4, we have Grrr. The enraged demon inside the Hell Cannon goes berserk. Remove D3 of the Hell Cannon's dwarf handlers as casualties. So he doesn't suck them off.
No, he just eats one or two of them.
They just disappear. Cool. 5, blood. The Hell Cannon breaks its chains and rushes forwards. Move the Hell Cannon 3d6 directly forwards as if it were subject to the random movement special rule, and it was the compulsory move sub-phase. That sounds a little complex.
So basically you're doing exactly what you would have done if you'd failed the leadership check before you shot.
So it's the same as rule 1.
It's basically the same as Caged Fury.
Same as Caged Fury, except you do it in the shooting phase instead of the movement phase.
What's Caged Fury? Oh, right, yeah, at the start of your turn. Okay, but you're doing it in the shooting phase?
Yeah.
Okay. And then if you roll a 6, boom! Probably peaked there on the microphone, but the Hell Cannon fires a devastating blast. Resolve the Doomfire shot as if a hit had been rolled, doubling the strength of any hits to a maximum of 10. The Hell Cannon cannot fire for the rest of the game. So he shot his bolt at that point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
That
much
means
outside.
everything under that template is going to take a strength 10 hit in the face.
That is mad.
You just want to
So-
hope you don't...
And it doesn't actually scatter either, because it says you treat it as rolling a hit. So even if you rolled the scatter and misfired, no, staying where it is.
And he's just going thump.
Just hit him where it landed. And
So someone
pretty
is
much
going to have a wake up with a big ass headache in the morning.
It's a bit unpredictable, though, is it not?
It's
as a
leadership.
unit.
It's leadership 9 for a start, so you're probably going to pass most of your leadership tests.
Yeah.
And when it comes to that
You're
chart,
only rolling on that chart if you fail the leadership
no,
test.
No, that
you're
chart's
only
if you
rolling
roll a
that chart
misfire.
if you roll a
That's
misfire,
if you roll a misfire.
which is a 1 in 6 chance. So
Yeah, that's a roll of a 1, is it?
No, that's a roll
it's
of
a
the
roll of the
artillery
actual
dice.
misfire
Misfire
mark
dice,
on the dice, yeah. It sounds like a lot of fun to use.
Oh, they are.
For the 200 points, it's nice.
If he sucks off all his crew,
then he's taking all his leadership checks on 4.
Right,
which
okay.
So he's going to start going raw a lot more.
It does mean it becomes a monster as opposed to a stone thrower.
Yeah.
Which it's then a lot better at.
Because you're not going to pass too many leadership checks at leadership 4, are
So he is better if he sucks them all off.
If he kills his own crew,
if you kill the crew, you're laughing because you've got a monster.
Yeah.
That's not going to go boom.
Who's also unbreakable, so ain't leaving combat.
And terror causing.
These guys are very good at straight face, aren't they? Okay. How would you use him?
Same way most people use them. Stick him in the back in a corner of the board. Just shoot anything that moves.
So just have him back there, because the chances of him moving forward
as soon as they're within 12 inches of you, you're not allowed to shoot them.
And then you just go eat them instead.
It's a case of...
And he's strength 5, toughness 6.
Yep, so you're not easy to wound him.
5 attacks. He's quite tasty in combat.
And when you decide to charge somebody, the opponent's going to have to take a panic check, potentially, because you're causing terror.
So it's... even it's something to protect your flank.
Yeah.
That would be quite
it's
quite
a nice
A lot of people do put them on the flank to protect them.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Okay, so next up we have the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. Okay.
Our favourite.
Yeah.
215 points.
Cheaper by 50 odd points now.
Yeah. Movement 7, weapon skill 6, ballistic skill 3, strength 6, toughness 5, wounds 6, initiative 4, attacks 5, leadership 9.
Yep.
Equipment, he's got a hand weapon, light armor, special rules, immune to psychology, means he's going to stay in the fight.
It's not so much he's going to stay in the fight, he's not scared of you at all.
Yeah.
Having said it, immune to psychology, he only has the option of staying there and take the charge. That's his only other problem.
Yeah, he can't
choose
I'd
to
like to
flee.
see you make a Dragon Ogre flee from something.
Yeah, I know.
They're big, they're scary, they look amazing.
Large target, scaly skin 5+, that's his armor save effectively.
So he's got 4 up save now with the light armor.
Storm Rage.
We discussed this earlier with the Dragon Ogres as well. It's when you get a 2-up save against a lightning-based attack.
And if they're hit by it, they go psychotic and get frenzy.
And he causes terror.
So he's scary.
He's very scary. He can take any one of the following: an additional hand weapon for 5 points, or a great weapon for 12. Let me guess, you'd probably give him a great weapon, wouldn't you?
To be honest, it's already
Initiative 4,
strength 6, initiative 4. I'd probably go the additional hand weapon.
All right, so he's getting a double done.
He's getting an extra attack anyway,
because
and then you make him frenzy, he potentially goes up to 7 attacks. If someone's stupid enough to fire a lightning bolt in him.
How do you make him frenzy?
Well,
you your opponent fires a lightning bolt at him.
All right, okay. What would you do with him then, guys?
He is a monster. You use him as you would use any other monster. Pick a target, eat.
Just boom.
Yeah, I wouldn't throw him into a unit on his own.
Put a smaller units. You can use him to kill light cav.
Yeah, light cav, archer units, anything like that. I wouldn't put him into a block of 20 or 30 men.
Nah.
Right, so archers tend to be sitting a bit further back, possibly on the flanks.
Your movement's 7, you're going to get some.
Yeah, so you're going to get them. Like Cav are more than likely going to be coming at you from the flanks.
Each them.
Yeah. So it seems to me that this guy's starting point during the deployment would
is
be
a bit hanging back off the flank.
And somewhere off a flank, yeah.
Yeah.
Hanging back off your flanks as such. So your fast Cav can't even Vanguard move to get past you. It's a case of a Vanguard forward and then a move forward, and the Dragon Ogre's still looking at me in the face.
Yeah, and then you send him in.
How
much? Movement 7. What's his kind of maximum?
19.
19, yep.
That's pretty nasty.
And because he's a monster, it's
3d6.
No,
Strider.
He's not got a Swift Strider, has he?
No, he's just got.
But he's pretty scary.
Yeah.
If he declares a charge, they've got to take a terror test. If they
There
fail that, they're fleeing.
There aren't many light cav in the game that are immune to psychology or immune to panic.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much. I think the only ones that can be made immune to panic are Warriors of Chaos ones, I believe.
Yeah. So this guy would be quite tasty against the likes of Goblin Spider Riders or
Wolf Riders.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want my goblins anywhere near him.
So a Hell Cannon on one side is gonna really make somebody think twice about coming into your flank, because he's gonna eat them.
That on the other flank.
And that on the other flank, where it can actually, especially if you can deploy after your opponent, so you know where his archers or something like that is.
Yeah.
Excellent. Next up, we have a Chaos Giant. I love giants. Giants are a lot of fun. I've always enjoyed playing with giants. I played with giants in the orcs, with the orcs that I've played. So
yeah, they work in the orcs list. In this list, there are better.
They don't. They're a nightmare in the Orcs list.
Well, I enjoy them.
The whole Orcs list is a nightmare because you spend the entire game sitting in your deployment zone having a fight with each other.
What's your point?
Okay, they're Orcs.
Yeah. 200 points, guys. Movement 6, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 3, strength 6, toughness 5, wounds 6, initiative 3, A special, we'll come to that, and leadership 10. Why is a Chaos Giant not like strength 10, toughness 10?
They're all
Because
special
all the
attacks, and all giants have the same profile.
All right, so they've modelled that. It doesn't need to be modelled in strength and toughness. It's modelled
In its
another way. Okay. What page do we find him on, Mike?
44 and 45.
44 and 45.
Yeah, because you've got a whole page just for its attacks.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Special rules. He has fall over. Giants are, oh my god,
Yeah,
it's
they
a
can fall over in
big,
the middle of
long thing. Somebody want to summarise fall over for me?
They can potentially fall over in the combat.
Basically, if you're beaten, you
Yeah.
take a test to see if you fall over.
It's initiative
If you
test,
flee,
isn't it?
it's a roll a dice. On a 1, you fall over.
Yeah.
If you're fleeing in the movement phase, roll a dice, see if
Yeah.
you fall over. If you go over a wall,
You might fall. You might trip
Yeah.
on the wall.
if you decide to jump up and down on the enemy unit,
You might fall over.
Can he jump up and down on an enemy
it's
one of
unit?
the special attacks.
Cool.
But before you get the chance to jump up and down on the unit, you have to roll a dice to see if you fall over.
And what happens if he does fall over?
Then
He takes a wound and he's laying there on his arse.
and potentially could fall on the enemy though.
Could fall on the enemy
And
and
is there a
crush them.
template? Can he
Yes.
crush them?
Yes.
Do they die?
He
Yes.
don't die.
They
It
don't take
takes
damage.
the strength 6 hit with multiple wounds D3.
Okay, we have the giant special attacks.
Which
Right.
is a table based on the size of the target. So if you're
Yeah.
fighting things that are infantry, basically, I think is it monstrous infantry? included?
Yeah, there's the big
no, it's
things
man
table.
sized or smaller, and big things.
So if he's attacking a big thing, use this table when fighting monsters, monstrous beasts, monstrous infantry, cavalry, chariots, war machines, or anything with the large target special rule.
And if it was not a man on foot or a swarm,
Then you would use the man side or smaller
Yeah,
things.
little
Right,
things,
okay.
basically.
So in the big things table, on the roll of a 1, yell and ball, which
You win
I'll...
the combat by 2 automatically.
Yeah.
that's it. No more blows are struck, no combat res.
Finishes.
It's automatically you win by 2.
Okay. 2 to 4, thump with club.
Yeah, it is.
He picks one model as his target and brings down his club with a single mighty strike. The target may attempt to avoid the blow by passing an initiative test. Test is failed. The model takes 2d6 hits that wound automatically with no armor saves allowed. If a double is rolled, the Chaos Giant's club embeds itself in the ground, and the Chaos Giant cannot attack at all in the following round whilst he recovers his weapon.
The thing's just taking 2d6 wounds. It's probably dead.
Yeah.
Essentially, if you get the right target, if you're fighting...
The only save it's going to get is a ward save if it has it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then 5 to 6, headbutt. The Chaos Giant headbutts a single enemy model from the target unit, automatically inflicting 1 wound with no armor saved allowed. If the victim is wounded but not slain, then he is dazed and loses all of his following attacks. If the target has not yet attacked in that combat round, he loses those attacks. If he has already attacked, then he loses the next round's attacks.
Yeah.
So that would be softening it up. Is a giant a good thing to send in for monsters, or are there better monster killers?
There are better monster killers. The
Yeah.
giant's probably one of the poorer monster killers. I'd go the Shaggoth over the giant to kill monsters.
Especially since they've lost the option to be always strike first giants.
Yeah.
Because the old book, you took the Marcus Slanesh on a giant, he had an always strike first giant. I think what was the Marcus Slanesh in the old book, 110 odd points?
I'll say it like that.
You had a 310 odd point giant, but now it doesn't do it anymore.
Okay.
The Marcus Slanesh has been changed.
For man-sized targets, he is yell and ball, jump up and down. The Chaos Giant jumps up and down vigorously on top of the enemy. But before that, he must determine if he falls over. If he falls over, work out where he falls and calculate the damage. Any wounds caused by the fall on either side count towards the combat result. He remains none too nimble on his feet, and the target unit sustains 2d6 hits resolved at the Chaos Giant's strength. Work out the damage and saves as usual. Chaos Giant that starts to jump up and down will therefore continue to do so on the same target until he falls over, the target is destroyed, or the combat ends. So
Once you've rolled jump up and down, you just keep...
You have to continue doing it. Okay.
You know, you just have this image of the overexcited giant going...
You then have pick up and and then you roll again.
Yeah.
So this is why I think giants are one of the most fun models
And random
in the
as
game.
hell.
Yeah, because it's like they are so random.
You're never sure what it's going to do.
So pick up and stuff into bag. Stuff the victim in the bag. The model is removed as a casualty. Pick up and throw back into combat. The victim is hurled back into his own unit like a living missile. The victim is removed as a casualty, and strength 3 hits are inflicted on the unit. Hurl. The victim is hurled into an enemy unit within 12 inches, randomly determine which. The victim is removed as a casualty, and the unit takes D6 strength 3 hits. Unsaved wounds from these hits count towards the giant's combat result. If no enemy units are in range, treat this as a throwback into combat. Squash. This doesn't really bear thinking about. Suffice to say, the model is removed as a casualty. Eat. The Chaos Giant gobbles his victim up, swallowing him whole. The model is removed as a casualty. Pick another. The Chaos hurriedly stuffs the victim into his bag, or under his shirt, or down his pants. Treat the attack as if the Chaos Giant had rolled the stuff into bag result above, and then choose another victim. The second victim takes a single attack as usual to avoid being picked up. If he fails, roll again. So that's like exploding sixes.
Keep going. Yeah. The funniest one there is where you can potentially pick up your opponent's general and throw him back into combat.
Mm-hmm. But I've seen reports, or I remember reading battle reports, I think it happened in a game, where he wasn't removed. He survived the...
That was the previous
chart.
book. The previous book had a different chart to that, where it used to be you could survive. Where this one, it's from just removed from
If they manage to pick you up, you is dead.
There's one person who I can think of in the game who can get back from these attacks.
And that's Vlad with the ring.
How?
He's got a ring of Von Cast Iron. On a 2+, he comes back to life anywhere in a unit of your side. Because he's removed as a casualty, he gets to roll on the ring chart.
And he just comes back to life again.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that was a bit more fun actually when the guy could survive it and then just
come back and come. Oi, I want to have a go.
And he ended up stuck in some other unit or whatever. It was okie dokie.
Yeah. And then
he's stubborn and he causes terror. Nothing new there. Right, so he can take a mark of corn, 10
plus
points.
One strength.
Sorry?
It's +1 strength for him
the
instead.
marks do different things to the giants as well.
So right, so that's all in the... Yeah. Oh, yeah, so, yeah, the Giant of Corn has +1 strength. The Giant of Zinch, at 15 points, has a 6+ ward save. That's all right. A Giant of Nurgle, 15 points, has +1 toughness.
That'd be the one worth taking.
Yeah, I'm thinking that as well. And a Giant of Slanesh, at 5 points, has +1 initiative.
So you do potentially have a giant that's going before Empire State. I think it's before Empire State.
Yeah, because his initiative is 3. That would take him to initiative 4.
Yeah. So
yeah.
And most rank and file
the
Empire.
average is 3.
So you'd be going before rank and file infantry, as opposed to at the same time.
Yeah. That's tasty. I'd still rather put the toughness up to toughness 6.
It means he's going to survive a lot more shooting.
Yeah. On his way in.
He will draw.
Oh, hell yeah.
If he's standing up that big on the table, what's the biggest scary thing? What's getting shot? There you go.
There we go.
Having said it, while he's there being shot, the guy is not shooting the rest of your army.
Let's talk about giants, okay?
Yep.
They are random. You're highly unlikely to field giants at a tournament, let's be honest. But as something that's fun as hell,
oh yeah,
I think they're great.
They're fun, but then I don't like them compared to some of the other things.
What would you do with them if you were fielding them? Because I'm tempted. I am tempted of having a couple of corn giants.
Again, pick
to be honest, I'll make sure he's 5 inches away from any one of my units, so I can't fall on them by accident.
Yeah.
And then keep going, heading towards the enemy.
Go play with something.
I'd just run up front and centre. Would I be mad doing that?
As long as the rest of your army's not within 5 inches of him, you're fine.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking he could draw fire all he wants. I suppose I'd probably have to make him a Nurgle one, which would break the theme of my army a little bit.
I would have to make him the cool one, so when they jump up and down, you're taking strength 7 hits.
Ooh. Yeah.
Okay, you name an infantry unit in the game
that can survive a strength 7 hit.
Can survive a strength 6 hit. What's not Warriors of Chaos?
Fair enough.
So strength 7 isn't going to make much difference there.
But it would keep
not
your
a jump
feet.
up and down.
But it would keep your feet.
Yeah.
That's all I've. That's the only reason I'd go Khorne if you're keeping your theme.
But otherwise, probably Nurgle, make him tougher, and then you can afford to run him up. Would you run him at a general?
Yeah.
Just as a...
as long as it's not an Empire general.
It's a lot of points at 200 points to do it, but... You know, if your other guy's got a general sitting in the middle of his board...
Again, I wouldn't throw the giant into a block unit of 20 or 30 men.
Admittedly, you are taking, even if you lose,
you're going to lose.
But you're taking your leadership checks at 10 stubborn.
Yeah, but it's a case of how many wounds they're going to do when you're only toughness 5.
Yeah.
And if you're putting a giant in the middle of your army, like you said, it's going to draw a lot of firepower.
He'd be toughness 6, though, if he was a Nurgle.
Yeah, that's what it's going to have to be.
Yeah.
But if it's in the middle of your army, it's going to draw a lot of firepower and a lot of wizard spells. And they're going to stop him from getting in, I reckon.
However, for 200 points to stop the rest of your army getting those...
It's a fire magnet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a 200-point fire magnet in your army.
If he's heading straight for a general, he's more likely to draw
that
fire,
fire magnet, yeah.
Oh, definitely.
It's to scare
It's
your
an interesting tactic, guys. I wonder what you think of that one.
Put him in there as the, look at me, I'm scary.
Yeah. I'd probably paint him gold, just to make him as big and as bright and as just.
I am over
so
here.
Want to take that out. Yeah.
No. If you're gonna do it, you do it with gold, red with some gold. He is Iron Giant.
That's yes. The only thing he'd be the only model that I would send off to be professionally painted golden demon style, just so he was so utterly gorgeous that they couldn't take their eyes off it and they'd have to hammer out.
Personally, I'd make sure they put a bullseye target on his head.
A bullseye target on his head. That's a good idea. Yeah. Anyway, so Chaos Giant. My thoughts on this is I love the fun of him. If I was going to use him in a game, I reckon I would run that guy towards my enemy's general. I'd make him Nurgle. I'd run him at the general just to give him a lot to think about those first couple of turns. And see if he draws a lot of fire and gives me a bit of breathing space to get
give me a bit of breathing space.
So the only army that might not work against is the Empire army that's brought the artillery train of doom.
Empire, dwarf.
Yeah, the ones who just go cannonballs. Problem solved.
Yeah. Okay.
Bolt throws for the elves.
Yeah, but
even then we'll take them down.
Next up we have Chaos Spawn. These guys rocking in at 50 points. Movement 2d6, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 0. Strength 4, toughness 5, wounds 3, initiative 2, attacks d6 plus 1, and on leadership 10. That leadership is probably modelled at 10 because
they're
these
unbreakable.
Guys, yeah, they just don't think, really, do they? Special rules, fear, random attacks d6 plus 1, random movement 2d6, and unbreakable, as Swampy says. And then they can take one of the following. They can be Spawn of Khorne. What page do we find them on?
Page 39. The Spawn of Khorne's Devastating Charge.
39. Okay, Spawn of Khorne. Devastating Charge special rule. What does that give us?
Gives you immune to psychology and +1 attack on the charge. You're immune to psychology anyway because you're unbreakable, so you just get a +1 attack.
So
okay. Spawn of Tzeentch is 20 points.
Strength 3 breath weapon.
Strength 3 breath weapon that has the flaming attack special rule. That sounds interesting.
Could be fun.
If you've got an enemy, if your opponent's got a regen unit in his army, punk. You're not
getting
regen.
What's a regen? That's
regeneration.
Like zombies or?
Regeneration. So.
Oh, against zombies that'd be devastating. Put a flame template over zombies. You kill half of what's you're going to hit.
Yeah. So if you're playing against vampire counts, you might want to consider some of these.
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah, vampire counts will hate it. Empire will hate it.
Does flaming attacks work against ghosts, or do you still need something?
Still need
so
magical.
ethereal isn't going to. Yeah.
But it does give you something to use against. I mean, Dark Elves would hate it because that's something you chuck against a Hydra.
I won't chuck it against a Hydra. It's only strength 3. I'll chuck it against their units, and because they're on small bases, you're hitting so many of them. You're going to devastate a unit.
But no, when you go in, you can just use your breath weapon as a breath weapon in combat. So you do 2d6 strength 3 hits.
Yeah, as long as you do a wound.
But as long as one of them wounds, they're not going to get their regen anymore.
Nah.
So then for the rest of that turn, so again you can pile him with another unit.
Yeah, but
so
initiative 2.
Unit. Yeah.
His initiative 2, so he's going after the other unit.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, he's probably not going to survive. Yeah.
Nah, so
Spawn of Nurgle at 10 points.
Poison
attack special rule. So that means automatic wounds on 6 hits. Yeah.
I would consider it with weapon skill 3.
With d6 +1 attacks, I'm considering it.
Yeah. And then finally, the Spawn of Slaanesh.
Always strike first.
Always strikes first special rule.
So you're going before your enemy now instead of after them.
Each one of those is pretty tasty, to be fair.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Got their job in an army.
The Khorne one,
it's +1 attack.
Charge. Yeah, that's +1 attack. Yeah, that's good. So they have attacks. That would be d6 +2 attacks then.
on the charge.
That's not bad either.
That's not bad. Minimum of 3.
At 50 points, right, their unit sizes of 1, so these guys are all kind of independent.
Yeah,
of
so
each
in a
other.
2k army you can have 2.
That's the most you could have.
Yeah, in a 2k game.
2,000 points, yeah.
You used to be able to have 4, but they removed because they used to be able to take 2 as a rare choice. But you're only allowed to take 1 as a rare choice now.
Where does it say that?
In the rule book.
In the rule book, it says in the rule books. The actual rules in a 2,000 point army, you're only allowed to have 2 of each kind of rare.
Right. Okay.
So a 2,000 point army, you're only allowed 2 Shaggoths, 2 Giants, 2 Spawn. You can have 2 Giants, 2 Shaggoths, 2 Spawns, but by then you're probably paying a 3k game.
Yeah. Right. Which case?
Have more than that, mate.
Yeah.
How many points then? Is it then 3,000 to 4,000 points, or does it just go
In
unlimited?
3,000 above, it goes from 2 to 4. And you can't get no more.
You can never get more than 4.
Nah.
That's a real pity. However, on the Eye of the Gods chart,
You can be turned into Spawn.
Some of your other stuff can be turned into Spawn,
But they don't get the marks.
But they lose the marks.
They lose the mark if they had one as well.
Yeah, because if they hadn't, that would have been fun.
Yeah.
That would have been fun because I would have given everything Mark of Siege, so it was all breath weapons and stuff like that. I think that would have been brilliant.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Be great for your unit champs.
So you've only 2 of them. That somewhat limits it because I was reading this thinking, my God, 50 points. I'm going to have 10 of these.
Yeah, no. That's why the rules are written the way they are, to stop people doing that.
That is a real pity. What would you do with them then?
They're random movements, so
they're random,
you can't have a battle plan with them.
I'd probably put them on a flank or to one side of your main battle line. Because they're random, they're going to be a little bit edgy to play with. You don't know how far they're going to go ahead, how far they're going to stay behind. So it's one of those things you're putting more for fun.
If you're using them from a defensive point of view, would that flaming template be a deterrent to people coming towards them, or
Nah?
Because
you
they're
can't
random.
stand and shoot that, can you?
Because they're random movement 2d6. No one's got the only control you've got over them is I'm going in that direction.
Yeah.
So
You don't know where they're going.
You don't know where they're going. You don't know where they're going to end up.
So a tricky one. Could be fun to play.
Oh, it'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, in a Fiend Force, they can be quite hilarious. I mean, I'd put them in a Monsters Force.
Yeah, I'll put them in a Monsters Force.
And they are lovely themed with the marks. The marks really do give them a lot of flavour.
Yeah.
However, not easy to use because they are pretty random. Yeah. So they could either be devastating.
They are the epitome
or they could fall short of the mark.
It's a rare choice, being the epitome of chaos. They are completely chaotic because you can't have a battle plan with them.
See, that's another nice choice. Okay, next up at 75 points per model, we have one that I think is pretty awesome, to be fair. Skull Crushers of Khorne.
New addition to the book.
Toys.
I quite like the look of these guys at the very least. Skull Crusher movement 4, Skull Hunter movement 4, and then the Juggernaut of Khorne is, of course, movement 7. They're all weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 3, strength 4, Juggernaut strength 5. They're all toughness 4. The Skull Crushers or Skull Hunters have 1 wound. The Juggernaut has 3 wounds.
You treat them as having the 3 wounds because they're ridden war beasts.
Monsters Cavalry.
The initiative 5, 5, and 2, attacks 2, 3, and 3, leadership 8, 8, 7. Just reading down the thing.
No,
equipment, hand weapon, chaos armor, and shield, unit size 3. Special rules. What page do we find them on, Mike?
Page 35.
Page 35. First special rule we have is the Brass Behemoth.
Essentially, they just count as barded war horses. A bonus.
Yeah, Juggernaut improves its rider's armor saving through by +2 rather than the usual +1 for monstrous cavalry mounts.
Yeah.
However, it doesn't say it reduces their...
No, because it's already included into the profile.
Yeah.
Oh, it's already in the profile
that's why they're only speed movement 7 anyway.
Okay, gotcha. Demonic attacks for the Juggernaut, so
magical attacks.
ghosts and stuff are going to take that. Eye of the Gods for the Skull Hunter, that's the champion.
The chart we've mentioned.
No problem there. Fear, we know. Mark of Khorne, of course these things are going to come automatically with the Mark of Khorne.
They're a Khorne unit.
On the riders only. Murderous Charge for the Juggernaut. What is Murderous Charge and how does that work?
As long as you successfully make the charge, the Juggernaut gets +1 strength on its attacks.
So that's taking it up to strength 6.
Yep, with
that's
3 attacks.
Tasty, isn't it?
Yep.
And then with the Eye of the Gods rule, those he could get...
That's the Juggernaut. No, it's just the Juggernaut.
Benefit from the eye.
That's the mount, not the rider.
Oh, right, okay, pants. Oh, well. Options: may upgrade Skull Crusher to Skull Hunter 10 points, Musician 10 points, Standard Bearer 10 points. Just go with the champion, or would you go with the musician in this one?
I'd be tempted to go with the full command.
Depends how many I'm putting down.
And if I'd be tempted to go with full command, probably Banner of Rage.
I'd be tempted to put 6 down on the table with full command.
Banner of Rage.
Each?
Well, you're only getting 6 and 2,000 points.
You put 6 into one.
Yeah.
Into one
with
unit.
Full command, and just watch them mince through your opponent's army.
Right.
Because this is an impact unit. This is your heavy cav option.
Okay.
So whilst Cal's Knights are heavy cav, this is your heavier cav.
Right, and at 50 points for...
you know the hero we talked about earlier?
This would be a good
The
bodyguard for
hero
him.
what we put on the Juggernaut.
Yeah.
Which one was that?
The one you told me to make up on the spot, and I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll be perfect in a unit of 5 of these. Because the amount of attacks, we gave the Mark of Corn, we
They're
put
going
on
to
the
break
Juggernaut.
whatever they hit.
They're gonna, with him in there, they're getting a few more extra attacks.
Yeah.
And it'll be a devastating unit.
Ooh. Right, so Magic standard worth up to 50 points. What was the...
Banner of Rage.
Banner
so
of
they
Rage,
will never
25
lose
points.
their frenzy.
Yeah, so it just stays
Because with the Mark of
them.
Corn, remember, you're saying they've got 2 attacks, they've got 3 attacks because they're the Mark of Corn. They're frenzied.
Yeah. So, yeah, right enough.
And so the Juggernauts, I believe, have 4 attacks because they're frenzied.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Oh no, the Mark of Corn's on the rider only.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Would the Magic standard apply to the Juggernaut?
No, because the Juggernaut's not frenzied, so it doesn't have to apply.
Oh, it doesn't have it to begin with, right, okay. And the entire unit may take one of the following: lances at 2 points per model, or ensorcelled weapons
at 3.
for 3 points. Would you bother with any of that?
Ensorcelled weapons, make a strength 5 the whole time. So again, it's the same choice as the
Knights.
The Knights.
You're strength 5 constantly, and you're going to be able to be used against so no one's going to be able to put an ethereal unit in. You go, you're not going through me.
3
yes,
points.
I am. Die.
Worth it.
3 points isn't much, is what I'm saying. Yeah,
Exactly.
That's yeah. I'd spend the 3 points.
If
Yeah,
you know
it's 15 for the 5 I'm putting in.
Yeah. Yeah.
15 points you can find in a game of fantasy pretty easily.
That's what one warrior casts.
Yeah.
Right. If this is the mincer,
This is your sledgehammer.
Now for some advice. How would I use a sledgehammer unit? Right.
Pin the target in place with a unit of infantry, so you use hammer and anvil tactics. So you put the infantry in, pin them in place.
That's your anvil.
That's your anvil. Bring the cavalry in either on the flank or if you can get them in the rear and literally just go squish.
Just right through them, yeah?
I'd like to see what can survive a frontal charge from 6 of these guys.
Oh no, but normally it's that hammer and anvil tactic.
Yeah.
You could probably get away with using them just as the hammer of, I don't need the anvil against the small, not against the massively hoarded units, but some of the smaller.
20, 30 men, I'd still take my chances with these 6 guys.
Yeah?
Yeah,
I wouldn't fancy their chances against high elf spearmen.
Would you throw them in against black orcs and stuff like
Yeah.
that? Yeah?
Black Orcs...
Initiative 2? Yeah, I'm going to run through you like a dose of
To
salt.
be honest, if Black Orcs came against these things, they're going last using great weapons.
Yeah.
Well, who are these guys going to struggle against?
Griffin Knights might because they're stubborn. Bretonian Knights, maybe due to the ward saves of 5+ on top of everything else.
You're knocking so much off their armour. It's not that, it's the fact if you get the charge,
Yeah,
you're going to beat
wrong.
whatever you hit.
But you
If
need to charge.
if they get charged,
So why not put 2 units of 6 in?
because you're only going to fit 6 of these guys in 2,000
2K.
points.
Bear in mind, we always work on the principle, what can you fit in the 2K army, because that's the
Yeah.
generally
Standard
accepted
size.
standard game of fantasy.
Would you do 2 units of 3?
No,
No.
I'll go 1 unit of 6.
Go for the sheer amount of punch.
So it's force.
Yeah,
You're
It
not
is
losing
force.
nothing by having them all in 1 unit.
because they're monstrous cavalry, then the guys behind actually get their full
The
attack.
guys do, the
all
mounts
mounts
don't. But
So you're missing out on 9 attacks
you're not.
because you're getting the...
Because by the time you get to combat, if people see them on table, they've shot them.
Yeah, so that
You're
rear
losing
rank
a
of
couple
3
of guys
Yeah.
is
who
probably dead.
will probably die. And you're looking at getting your 3, maybe 4 into combat. And that way you're still making the most out of the full unit.
Well, a full unit going in, right? Specced up with your banner of rage.
Mage, yeah.
How many attacks are they getting on the charge?
3, 6.
Three,
If we're just talking these guys on their own, yeah,
nine.
no character attachment.
No
18,
character attachment. Just these guys. on their own.
19 from the riders. And
9 from the guys.
9 from the guys, so 28 attacks.
28 attacks.
All of it at strength 5.
That's kind of tasty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't forget the stomps.
3 stomp attacks as well.
And
That's 3 always strike class attacks.
Yeah.
Deadly. But that's 3 strength. That's another 3 strength 5 attacks that
So
automatically
31.
hit.
We're at 31 attacks.
so a 10-man unit of orcs, there's a good chance they're going to just rip through them.
20-man unit of orcs.
They're
Good
gonna
chance there's only going to be 5 left.
Yeah. At which point then they'll have
They'll
to
go,
take leadership, run, and then they can be run down by that same unit. Yeah. Because the unit is it's reasonably fast at 7.
And your unit's running around with 1-up armor save to boot.
Yeah.
The only thing that this unit's going to be scared of is a wizard running around with the Law of Metal.
Yeah. What can he do?
He's going to be wounding you on 2s, and you don't get an armor save.
At what range?
24, I think, is the...
It varies depending on the spell.
The signature's pretty tasty for dealing with something like this.
Yeah, but how often?
Do you see a metal wizard?
Yeah.
The only time you ever see a metal wizard is when you know you're fighting Warriors of Chaos.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. So if there was if my
your
opponent had a
knows
wizard on the table,
you need it dead
quickly. I'd need to either stay out of its way or
kill it.
Run at it and get rid of it.
Kill it. Don't go out of its way. Just go for him.
Well, is it worth expending a unit on like that just to get rid of an opponent's wizard?
Probably. Yeah.
Depends what wizard it is.
If that wizard was on top of some kind of monstrous creature or whatever.
It depends what wizard it is. I would throw 6 of these at Techless. I will throw 6 of these at Morify. I will not throw 6 of these at a Goblin Shaman.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. yeah.
The big nasty wizards. I mean, Balthazar Gelts. I'd really throw these at as well.
I'll throw these at, If I saw Balthazar Gelts, I would keep these things away from him.
Yeah.
He comes with Lore Master, Lore of Metal.
Yeah,
to be honest, he's dying before these guys get anywhere near him.
Right, so he would be able to deal with these guys.
Yeah, quite
no
easily.
problem at all.
He can do Balthazar Gelts on his own can generally deal with Warriors of Chaos army on his own.
Really?
As a Lore Master of Metal, he's got
Lore Master,
all 7
Empire
Lord
Wizard.
spells from the Lore of Metal.
Yeah.
He's the only wizard you'll be really scared of.
Well, yeah. Well, let's take a break for a second, right? As a Warriors of Chaos player, how do I deal with him then?
Hell Cannon.
Hell Cannon.
Hell Cannon. Okay, there we go.
Hell Cannon, Dragon Ogres.
Magic of your own.
A Shaggoth.
Yeah.
Squish him with something that doesn't have to worry about his Lore of Metal.
Yeah.
Trolls. Trolls are another favourite. You can wound me. No, you can't because I've got no armour save.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to go with the Spawns.
Yeah, because they've got
Because
no
of
armour.
their random movement, they might end up accidentally running behind them into him.
Yeah.
Because he flies around on a Pegasi. So he's very manoeuvrable.
Yeah.
So if your random movement, don't give him a chance to react to it.
Yes.
Because you don't have to turn his face, just go, I'm pointing in that direction. You've run behind me.
So the
Point that way.
Spawn will be a good way to get
Yeah.
to him.
You've now locked him in combat, and a lot of his spells are...
Yeah, so there's no waiting
He's a
or
wizard.
whatever on this. Yeah.
He's got 1 attack.
True. Yeah.
I'm going to kill him with a Spawn.
His Pegasi's got a couple of attacks, though.
Yes, 2 extra 4.
Okay. Right, next up we have the Slaughterbrute, 205 points. The Slaughterbrute, that's that new model, isn't it?
That's the new multi-part monster kit, yeah. Because we're going on to the second part afterwards.
Yeah, so 205 points. Special rules, large target. Runes of Binding.
You can, when you buy these things, you've got to potentially have to bind. You can buy them unbound.
Yeah.
But if you've got a character, you've got to bind it to a character. Because otherwise these things go a little bit unstable.
Right, now, binding them to a character, what does that mean? At the
beginning of the game, you must, for each Slaughterbrute in your army, you must nominate a single friendly lord or hero. He then becomes bound to that guy.
And does he have to stand beside him?
No. It's as long as he's bound, as long as the guy he's bound to is on the table, he's under control. As soon as the guy he's bound to is dead, the thing goes a bit loopy.
Okay, start attacking
It becomes unbound.
Yeah. And if it's unbound, does that mean your own troops are at risk?
Yes.
Right. So
yep.
if I was playing against Warriors of Chaos, am I allowed to ask who's that bound to?
They have to actually
They've
declare
got,
it.
Declare it at the start of the game, so you both
It's
people
not like
as
a magic
are fully
item. They
aware.
actually have to say, this Slaughterbrute is bound to this one is bound to this one, and this one is bound to this one.
So then I go for him. Because if he
If
has a
you've got-
Slaughterbrute
Yeah.
on there, and if he has
Yeah.
2 Slaughterbrutes on there, even better.
Yeah.
Well, no, can you bind 2 Slaughterbrutes to the one?
No, you have
one
one.
character?
It's
One per
one per
character.
character.
It's 1 per character.
As soon as you run out of characters, then all the rest of them are automatically unbound.
He's got Scaly Skin at a 4+, Terror, and Unbound. And in his options, he may take extra claws for 20 points. I think if you're spending 205 on him, it's probably worth taking the extra
Yeah,
claws.
It's
These-
2 additional attacks at strength 5.
Well, let me give you his profile. Movement 6, weapon skill 3, strength 7, toughness 5, wounds 5, initiative 3, attacks 4, and leadership 5.
His leadership and his weapon skill are the same as the character is bound to.
All right.
While he's bound.
While he's bound.
So would you bind him to Archeon, or?
I would actually be sorely tempted.
Becomes weapon skill what? 8, 9? Leadership 10?
Archeon, weapon skill 9.
I'll go with that.
That sounds alright.
Even if you bind him to a basic Chaos Lord, his weapon skill 8. Or the favourite one, any Chaos character running around with defensive blades. Weapon skill 10 monster.
Okay, next up we have, this is the other version of this, isn't it? It's the Mutalith Vortex Beast. It rocks in at 240
points.
One thing
I had to say about when I saw the model, I thought, who's been reading way too much H.P. Lovecraft?
Yes, tentacles!
Yeah, it's either that or watching Legend of the Overfiend.
Yes, that's the second time that I've mentioned that in a video in a very short space of time, that, yeah. Movement 6, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 0, strength 5, toughness 5, wounds 5, initiative 3, attacks d6 plus 2, leadership 8. Now, I'm going to go through him and then I'm going to talk about both the Slaughterbrute and the Mutalith Vortex Beast because they're a bit similar in some respects. The special rules, what page do I find him on, Mike?
Page 46.
So on page 46.
The Slaughterbrute's on page 47 opposite as well. So
okay, right. So Aura of Mutation. Innate bound spell, power level 5. Aura of Mutation is a direct damage spell with a range of 18 inches. Roll a d6 and consult the table below to discover how many toughness tests the target must take and if any long-standing mutations have occurred. For each toughness test failed, the target suffers a single wound with no armor saves. So on a roll of 1, hideous disfigurements, the target must take d6 toughness tests and gains the fear special rule for the rest of the game.
You're casting this on an enemy unit, you don't want them causing fear.
That's generally the only bad one in the list, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the worst one on the list.
Next up we have Troll Brains. The target must take d6 toughness tests and gains the stupidity special rule for the rest of the game.
That's always quite useful.
That's okay.
Yeah, make the enemy stupid.
Who would you put that on?
Pick the General's unit.
Yeah, I'll go
General Stupid go.
Gift of Mutations. The target must take d6 toughness tests. After resolving these tests, one of the unit's characteristics, roll a d6 to randomly select between weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness, initiative, or attacks, is increased by 1 to a maximum of 10. And one of their characteristics, roll another d6, is decreased by 1 to a minimum of 1 for the rest of the game. So it's like...
completely and utterly random as hell. So in theory, you could turn that unit of really good shooters could become absolutely useless at shooting, but really good at combat.
Yeah.
Or that combat unit could go, I don't know how to use my sword anymore, but I could use a bow, which I don't have.
Or you could really, really muck it up and take the unit of swordsman, go -1 ballistic skill, and +1 attack.
Yeah.
Right.
It can all go horribly right or horribly, horribly wrong.
Next up, we have the Tide of Transformation. The target must take d6 toughness tests. Once the tests have been resolved, roll a d6. On a 3 or more, choose another enemy unit within 6 inches of the initial target. It must take d6 toughness tests. Keep rolling for further victims within 6 inches of the last target struck, until the roll is less than 3 or there are no more viable targets. A unit can only be the target of Tide of Transformation once per casting. So what does that mean? That means that this table is...
You keep doing that one to through the army.
Yeah, you start at one end and it ends up at the other end, hopefully.
Potentially, its best example would be it works like Skaven Plague.
Yeah, so what is it doing to each of those units?
They're taking D6 toughness tests, and every time they fail a toughness test, that model, they're killing potentially D6 models failing toughness tests.
Ooh, so it's just boom, boom.
Take toughness test.
Die.
Take D6 toughness test. How many of those fail? That many guys dies.
Gotcha.
Roll it. Okay, another units get hit. They units get in. Take that many toughness tests.
Die.
And just keep going.
Okay, the Maelstrom of Change. Place the small round template over the target and scatter it D6. If a hit is rolled, the template does not scatter. Every model underneath the template must take a toughness test.
Or die.
Or die. Youch. And then finally, on a roll of a 6, spawn change. Every model in the target unit must take a toughness test. If the target suffers 1 or more unsaved wounds, you can immediately place a new chaos spawn anywhere within 6 inches of the target unit that is at least 1 inch from any unit and impossible terrain. If the target suffered no unsaved wounds, if you do not have spare Chaos Spawn models, why don't you let them use counters, Games Workshop? Or if it cannot be placed, then no Chaos Spawn is created. You know, I would quite happily let you use empty bases for that. So it's...
no, this is designed for GT players. I mean, that one. It's case you can't come to the GT with nothing but bases. You can, all right, fine, I'll come up with... It's to force you to buy more Spawn.
Yeah, because you didn't have enough Spawn when every unit champ can turn into one.
Yeah, you might want to be able to turn your opponent's general into a Spawn, potentially. Could be quite hilarious. Oh, this on Battle for Shaggoths could be quite funny.
No, because it's just unsaved wounds.
Yeah.
It won't do every wound.
It's a shame, I know.
All right. So that 6 is quite tasty, actually.
Yeah.
You could get some more Spawn on it.
Yeah.
But those Spawn don't have marks,
It's the amount of wounds you're going to cause on a unit, making every model in the unit take a toughness test. When the average toughness of the game is 3.
My favourite is probably then the Tide of Transformation. If you can do that, you're...
Dunk, 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 dunk. Yeah.
I don't know, I'd rather go that entire unit of Skaven Clan Rats of 50, take a toughness test on every model.
Especially when
Which one was that? The Maelstrom of Change?
Spawn of Change.
The Spawn of Change. Every one of them takes it. Oh,
yes.
right, okay, right.
The big bonus to this, though, is if you combine it, when we look at it, there's a spell in the Law of Nurgle that reduces the target's toughness when you use it as a hex by D3 points. So in theory, that potential unit of Skaven toughness 3 is now toughness 1.
In what circumstance could you get both of those to...
It's magic. So you cast the Nurgle spell first, and then do that afterwards on the same target.
Oh, right. So let's talk about how you use them. They're actually not very similar at all. Those two units are completely opposite.
The Slaughterbrute is a piece of brute strength monstering. The Mutilate, the Vortex Beast, is more of a supporter.
Yeah. It's more of an arcane supporter as opposed to being combat orientated.
Yeah, it's there to... Well, it's basically there to muck around with your opponent's army.
Your opponent shows up with his battle plan, and then you can do this and start mucking about with his plan.
Because it's a monster, it's got an okay profile. It can still deal a bit of damage in combat.
But would you deliberately send it into combat, or would you always try to keep it out of combat?
I would send it into weakened opponents.
Or again, use it as you do some monsters, fast cav.
Yeah. Would the Vortex Beast be something you would have kind of in the middle of the army to try and...
it would be to one side, slightly to one side of the centre, behind the line.
Yeah. Hanging behind our Dragon Ogres and our Ogres.
So there's a lot of meat in front of it, basically.
Yeah.
Whereas the Slaughterbrute...
Front and centre.
Yeah.
Front centre, just run it straight up.
I'll go slightly to the right.
Keep your character, and if you've got him though, try and keep your character in fights which you know he won't die in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no taking on Dark Elf Assassins.
Well, verdict then on the rare units, guys.
There are some tasty ones in there.
Yeah, I enjoy the Chaos Giant, although, let's be fair, it's not much different from the Giants that have been there.
But they're very similar.
I just happen to enjoy Giants.
The only thing that marks a Chaos Giant out from other Giants is the fact that you've got those 4 marks and you can tweak them a little.
Yeah. The Chaos Spawn are very good, but you just don't get very many of them.
No.
You're joking. You take the Vortex Beast and start making them.
Well, that's true.
We're making them out of nothing.
Yeah. You're not getting... Those ones that are being generated, though, are not being generated with the Spawn of Corn, Spawn of Sage, Spawn of... I like these ones because of the flaming attacks.
They're coming out of enemy models, who cares?
And they're not giving victory points when they die.
Well then, yeah, Spawn seems to be the way to go then. Skull Crushers are a little hammer unit, just run them around. I'm looking forward to trying that actually, the Skull Crushers of Corn.
I remember using them ages ago, before this book came out and I attended a Fugitive event, Stuart had put something very similar to these guys in the pack. And I had immense fun just seeing them run through a Skaven army.
Oh, nasty. And then finally, go on. It's good fun. It's hilarious. It's got to be the Hell Cannon, really. Just a cannon that eats people and sucks off its own unit.
Yeah.
You pay for that.
It's hilarious.
Okay, guys, look, thank you very much for watching. Get your comments and questions below. That wraps it up for the actual army. We'll be back again to discuss magic. But that's the rare units. I've enjoyed it. I think it's a great army. I've loved the flavor of it. I'm looking forward to, at some point, putting together a Warriors of Chaos army, because I think it would be just a crap ton of fun. Anyway, guys,
Point of
thanks for
Warriors.
watching, and we will be back again soon.